Expressing oneself online can become in many forms. Either you write anonymously on 4chan on a shady world-known website, or you go online in a game to play with hundreds of strangers. You always protect or hidden behind some kind of mask. Avatars. It's nothing new to use a character to represent yourself in something or somewhere, either existing or created by you. And it brings up so many opportunities for you to express how you see yourself or how you want to be like. I myself have used avatars since a long time ago, and I believe they're very useful for self-expression and privacy, and most importantly, for identity and self-discovery. And speaking of that, I'm here to just talk about my own avatars. You know, what I used to have growing up? Totally not because someone else made the same video. I'm not plagiarizing, I asked for permission. Not that you lower down the pitchforks, this video has its own twist. I'll be drawing the avatars while I comment on them. These are all very old and I could not find any useful auto art of them. And it gives a unique factor to the video, right? That's fun, isn't it? Anyhow, hit the transition button, editor. The year is 2018. Gacha content was more popular than ever, and I was an edgy kid that had to join in the trend, obviously. This avatar marked to be my first representation of myself. Obviously quite outdated as it doesn't reflect who I am now. Back then I used it a lot, just to make random content. And I also kind of figured out I had a crush on this one boy that was my best friend back then. Which was one of the reasons I figured myself out as bi. But not all friendships last. And nowadays, well, this friendship has been back. And soon I believe I'll be gone. I'm not much in touch with him. And to clarify something about the avatar gender, I'm a girl. But this avatar was made before I even knew that. And that serves a lot to help my discovery of who I was and who I am now. Even my own gender identity. Evidenced by the other avatars I built, counting the lore. Honestly though, the lore is a very interesting part too. It's not as deep as I've read my own lore nowadays, of course. I was 12 and I was way too young back then to write anything that was remotely even good. And their lore was that they lived together with most of my friends back then. It was the average YouTuber mansion theme everybody had, and was reflected here too. The avatar sadly had no name, and soon I moved on from it. And since the pandemic, which started about next year, since I made his avatar, I ended up having to drop it all entirely, and have to move on to a new Fursona, as I started to go in other places to contact people online. The last thing is that the character is white, despite me being black, which I wouldn't expect you to know, but that's because I wasn't very accepting of my own skin color, and began to understand that I had to, actually have pride in that, and actually enjoy my own skin. But again, it'll be explained further in a bit, so let's go to the next avatar. And with this one, we now reach 2019. Then pandemic fully hit, and I had no way of actually socializing. Not that I was socializing anyway. It just became my escape, as I finally sunk into the realm of chronically online. There on the internet, I discovered Discord, and joined a community relating to Undertale, and then completely ripped off Alter Swap Ascore back then to make my ugly-ass avatar, which was just a recolor back in the day. Until somebody actually designed him, and made a good drawing of him, and that's the look I'm drawing right now. Thanks to this character, I was able to join the role-playing community, with friends I had made on the previous Undertale community as a means to escape the virus, trademark, and keep my mind busy, at the cost of my social skills, obviously. This character in the roleplay, called the Undertale Multiversal House, or UTMP House, how we called it for short, meant a lot to me, and helped me explore my own sexuality even further, to realize I was in fact bisexual, but I hadn't found out I was trans yet. But let's get to the meat of it all, to the character himself, since I think that's the most interesting part I can mention here. He had actual lore, and Nathan, yes, that is his name, was the first of my Sonas to actually evolve and actually have writing behind him, since again he was part of a roleplay, and he was adopted by this one version of Sans in this roleplay, called the Editor. Basically got able to edit reality at his own will, and make his own dimensions. Aiden was an asshole of an adoptive son, and a high inconsistent mess of a character, from being nonchalant and cool looking to being a whiny bitch who nuked an entire city. I'm not joking. And I thought Roblox roleplays were way more wild than this. Despite all the clear evidence though, 12-year-old me still insisted it was a good day, like an idiot. But despite his immortals, he got good in his heart. Somewhat. Very debatable. Enough to adopt a talking flower that isn't flowy, despite your own assumptions, called Zapdrop. So see, I can actually say who the owner is, because I asked the permission. They're owned by Zenria. She made Zapdrop in a Pokédex worth of OCs. Holy shit. And that's why Zapdrop's enjoying it. Aiden had powers related to death itself, and it wasn't explored at all. Basically just shooting purple fire. Unlike Asgore and Toriel, and having a sight. Sips are cool. I like sights. Oh no, this experience of the Sona led me to not just positive, but negative thoughts. That let me have to know to trust the right people, and not let myself get manipulated. But it still was such a fun experience back in the day that I can kind of forgive some of these bad things. But I wouldn't want to go through it again. I hope you guys like the Fursona of Robbie Valentino from from Gravity Falls. Now let's move on to the next avatar. Yay! Next Sony. At some point, like I mentioned, I figured myself as a girl. It was mostly out of my own identity crisis I was having back in the day, and how I interacted with people and how I wanted to see myself as, which made me question what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do in life. It's a whole lot of baloney, but that was reflected into my avatar, obviously. She was used for several role plays back in the day, especially this one regarding some of my friends again, but these times new friends. Friends in which I met at the Sonic community, which kind of surprises me because she wasn't a Sonic OC back in the day and she was instead just a human from her own universe. But she never had a lore. She just used to mask the fact that I didn't want to admit I was a furry, even though I was pretty obviously one. But guess what? Sometimes in life you just deny things that are obvious, and she was one of them. But she was just a phase until I had gone to this result of an avatar. However, that means that there was something else in between. An avatar, I believe, has been seen by some of you and some of you haven't. However, they've been redesigned, and I'd like to show it. So, let's go to the last avatar of the video. This one is, in my opinion, the meat of the thing, the more interesting one I can talk about, since it'll include some very delightful info. Now I know what you're thinking, who's this character? Well, you wouldn't be saying that if you noticed already, of course, but this is Sophia from the Disastrous Hazards video me and Nocti posted made. Yeah, really different from there, huh? Well, I decided to redesign her, and, well, she used to be an avatar, so I decided to include her here. And finally, after I accepted I was a furry, basically, I finally decided to design an animal character for me as my avatar, until Disastrous Hazard came to be, and now she's just sort of a character. She came in a moment in life where I finally had met Octopus. Yes, origin story revealed from how we met, and personally speaking, she was a character that meant a lot to me, and still does. A bunch, even though, well, she is now completely different from beforehand, even not just design-wise, because she went through several ones to be fair, but also just vibes-wise and personality-wise. And now she's a bit of a shy, dorky girl, but before she used to be very confident. And because the story that I want to write with Via required, you know, this to be a different kind of design, a different kind of character altogether, I decided to go ahead and just change her up entirely, obviously. And now she's known as Solus. Yeah, cool name change, it was necessary, but let's go talk a little bit more about Disastrous Hazard, you know? Yeah, at the end of the video. Surprise! I really hope you enjoy hearing about this. So, we finally decided on a plot for Disastrous Hazard, and it's going to be a plot about Solus and Vivian, the two characters. They're going to go around on little adventures together, trying to run away from their past, and eventually having to face it head on. It's a very well-meaning story, at least that's what we're trying to go for, about these characters having to just deal with the fact that their past does not define them, and that they need to move on from it, but they also need to face it head on, which is a thing that's mutually hard to do. But it's a pretty cool thing. We've been designing for a while, and we're still not finished with it all, but we have decided at least for a little direction for the story, which I can't tell for obvious reasons. And another thing is that the series will be instead a comic, which is a lot better for us to make and a lot easier for us to do than pay animators because we're broke. But in any case, I want to get to the conclusion of the video, and so we won't talk about this character for all long. I also want to give my thoughts on what I think avatars are as a whole, and as how I think about them and how I view them. Because holy shit, this is taking too. Now that you guys have seen these avatars, some more in depth than others, I kind of feel they all had their spots at helping express my sense of self around others, and even around myself, and discover things I like too. And that's really why people make them. And they want to express themselves in their ideal version. They want to be known. They want to be seen. People make fun of characters who are Mary Sues, which are characters that are, well, just self-insert avatars, and they are annoying, some of them, when represented poorly in media. But I really like it when the creator is just aware of it, and it's simply for the fun, because it expresses who the creator is, even if poorly or without much thought. But making a good avatar, expressing yourself, takes obviously self-reflection. So even if you're making an OP god with all powers, abilities, original OC, do not steal. You should still put some thought into it to make it look good and feel natural. Self-improvement and mental health, and even your own knowledge about yourself affects your art, because it influences you in how you express yourself. What I'm gonna say is, get good scrub. And so we reached the end of the video. I'm sorry if it's too awkward or if my reading of my own script fucking sucked throughout this whole thing. I'm not very good at reading scripts. This is the first time ever in my life. And, well, Well, it was a bit awkward to record anyway. But yeah, this is basically just the conclusion of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it again. I really hope my channel to improve from here on out. If my reading was too bad, or if some stuff felt awkward, please let me know in the comments section. And if you don't want to let me know and then just insult me, go ahead, feel free to do it too. I would laugh at it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video for the third time now, and goodbye!